The big story that we're tracking on Beyond at this hour, we're witnessing a sudden spike in the daily number of coronavirus infections. Tokyo is on red alert. Now, this is the highest level of alert under the metropolis system in Japan. And alarmed by the rise in the number of infections, Tokyo's governor, Yuriko Koike, has described the situation as rather severe. The red alert, however, does not mean that Tokyo will go under a lockdown immediately. The businesses in the city can continue operations and public events need not be postponed. Now, Japan is in fact one of the few nations which did not impose a complete lockdown and had still managed to contain the spread of the virus in the earlier phases. But health experts across Japan have now raised some serious red flags. They have warned that the infection levels, especially in Tokyo, are exceeding the previous peaks. Now, the capital city witnessed over 200 COVID-19 infections pretty much on a daily basis over the past 1 week. A record high of about 243 new cases was reported on Friday last week. With a slight decrease, the number of new infections reported on Wednesday was at 165. The number of people needing to be hospitalized has also been on the rise in Tokyo. Now, the governor has said that the plan was to proactively conduct more tests in a bid to contain the spread of the infection. Authorities have also urged people to avoid visiting restaurants. The local government also plans to offer subsidies to the nightclubs, which shut down willingly. Now, as per reports in the local media, residents in Tokyo have been asked to avoid visiting their parents and relatives living in rural towns, which have so far reported far fewer cases. The cases have been on the rise in other cities in Japan as well. Osaka, for instance, has reported nearly about 61 cases on Wednesday, its highest daily spike since the 20th of April. The government campaign aimed at boosting domestic tourism has faced backlash in Japan. The local municipalities, opposition lawmakers and citizens in general have urged the central government to suspend the campaign. Japan's economy minister, however, has said that the government will cautiously proceed with the campaign, while the government is looking to promote intra-Japan travel to help the economy. Japan's international borders still remain shut. Japan has so far reported about 22,000 cases of infections and about 1,000 fatalities linked to COVID-19. All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of what is actually unfolding in terms of the coronavirus infection in Japan, we're joined by our correspondent, Grace Lee, who's joining us live from Tokyo. Grace, let me begin by asking you this. A lot of people actually had praised Japan with the fact that Japan, without a lockdown, had managed to bring the coronavirus infections under control. But over the last few days, especially in Tokyo, we've witnessed a number of infections that have come forth. What's happening there?
Yeah, it seems like the Band-Aid that Japan has put on the COVID-19 outbreak is starting to peel off, and we're starting to see those infection numbers rise again. And there's that big question of how will Tokyo, the epicenter of this outbreak, deal with it this time around? Now, last time, the state of emergency, that was largely a polite request from the government for businesses to shut down and for people to stay in their homes if possible. And we did see a lot of Japanese businesses and citizens here go along with that request, and that's how we saw that infection level subside. This time around, we're seeing a similar measure being put in place. The red alert at the moment is just simply the governor asking people to take more precautions, but experts are saying that's too vague and that she's simply asking people to be careful without giving them very straightforward guidelines. Yes, you should avoid nightclubs. Yes, you should avoid restaurants that aren't taking COVID-19 precautions, but at the same time, it's really not enough to make sure that we see those numbers go down gradually in the next few days.
At this point of time, is there a strict lockdown that is being planned, at least for the capital city of Tokyo? Or is the business consideration, because of the fact that it could actually impact the economy in a big way, is that something that may prevent the governor from announcing a more strict lockdown to try and contain the infections?
Well, both Governor Yuriko Koike and the central government have said that they don't want to do another state of emergency in fear of hurting the economy even more. But as you mentioned before, it does feel like residents here are being pulled in two different directions. You have the local government asking them to refrain from going out, to refrain from activities for now because of the spike of infections. But at the same time, you're hearing from the central government who is pushing ahead with this go-to travel plan. It's a promotion that will give subsidies to travelers who are traveling domestically. So they are being asked at the same time to go travel and support the economy, and that's sending some very mixed messages. Now, the big worry here is that residents here in Tokyo will take on that request from the central government, go travel to rural areas and spread the disease to places where they have a limited amount of hospitals, limited personnel who can deal with COVID-19, and the spread of the virus there will be especially devastating.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Gracely, for joining us from Tokyo and getting us all those insights.